Back in 2013, Guillermo del Toro released Pacific Rim, and months before the film was released, I couldn't have been more excited. You see, I love mech stuff, and anime or beyond that, and the kaiju genre, so the mix of these two things together with the director that I was a fan of couldn't have been more awesome to me. When I went to the theater with my big 3D glasses on and the movie started, I was hype, really hype. But I have to say, I was disappointed. I don't like Pacific Rim. I found it to be painfully mediocre. Not only was the acting outside of Idris Elba really bad, and the lead actor Charlie Hunnam was downright terrible, it was just kind of a dumb movie that thought it was smart. I didn't get why the other Jaeger pilots didn't really team up. I thought that the movie jumped around, that all of its attempts at character development or any kind of heart were just really hollow. Don't get me wrong, the movie had a few good scenes, and there was some nice action beats and so on that, made me stick through it, and I overall had a good time, but it was nothing great or special. I tried to rewatch the film a couple times on television, and I just ended up getting bored about halfway through. Now here we are with Pacific Rim Uprising, the much anticipated sequel that everybody wanted. Now in the lead role is John Boyega, playing the son of Idris Elba's character, and now there's no canceling of the apocalypse. No, it's getting potato chips and hot sauce. John Boyega's character is slumming it around the world in cities that were destroyed a decade ago, and he's been collecting Jaeger parts and selling them on the black market. Now, I'll get this out of the way. I don't actually hate this movie as much as I thought I would. I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, that's not saying this is a good movie, but it was better than I thought it was going to be. There's a few reasons for this. One, John Boyega's a lot more charismatic than Charlie Hunnam, and honestly, this is the best performance I think he's given since Attack the Block. I'd even go so far as to say that this is better than his work in Star Wars as Finn, and he was just very likable and charismatic in this movie. Second, this movie feels like a big dumb B movie. It's not trying to be classy or smart or sophisticated at all like the original. It feels like a big budget version of a Sci-Fi Channel original movie. I like the pacing to this movie a lot better. It's under 2 hours long with credits. It moves very quick. It doesn't try to complicate things. It embraces what it is. Also, there's ideas in this movie that I really like on paper, like the teenage Jaeger pilots who are being trained at the academy, and John Boyega and Scott Eastwood being their kind of like their teachers and all that. That could have been really cool, and this is stuff I like in anime. The teenagers having to deal with their own personal issues and their emotions at that age and have to overcome them so they can come together and fight is really awesome, and them having to step up when things get really bad. That could have been a really interesting thing if this movie was better. Also, overall, the movie looks pretty good. It looks like a $150 million movie. I mean, the shot composition, the cinematography, the editing, the sound mixing, the production design, the special effects, they all look pretty decent. It's not as good as the first movie, obviously, because you had a much better director making that, and this time it's Stephen S. DeKnight, who's mostly done television work, including working on Netflix's Daredevil and Star's Spartacus. But there was almost some kind of charm to this movie and how simple it was. It felt like a long version of a Power Rangers episode or something, and I was kind of smiling at how cheeky it was. Sure, the movie can be annoying. It's just a bunch of people trying to be cocky a-holes and bantering at each other for 2 hours, and then there's an occasional fight scene or so on, and that doesn't really work that well, but it's fun. I think kids will enjoy this movie a lot more than the first one, and I think that overall, it doesn't quite have that trying to capture tension or build suspense like the first movie. It is just a bunch of mess on the screen like a Transformers movie. But having said that, this is much better than what Michael Bay typically does, and, I don't think it was that bad. I mean, it's not a good movie. Let me get it away. This is not a good film, but it's kind of a fun B movie at the end of the day. The reason for me that it mostly doesn't work is there's a plot twist halfway into the movie that I saw coming a mile away. I mean, I predicted this very early on in a couple of scenes, and I was absolutely correct. Not only is that an issue, the bad guy is played by a character from the previous movie, and this is an actor I love, but he just doesn't have the chops to pull this off, and it's kind of embarrassing to watch it. There's also some logic issues. I don't get why there isn't more Jaeger pilots. They explain it with an offhand line of dialogue, and it's very contrived. Everything's very convenient to set up the final half-hour battle. Also, once again, it just got annoying how everybody was just giving each other shit over and over again. It's like, okay, can you guys work together and talk a little bit? It takes so long for the movie to actually feel like these characters are having relationships. Not only did I not like the bad guy in the big plot twist in the movie it was just dumb, it was really stupid, but beyond that, there's a lot of things set up here that don't really pay off, and that was the most disappointing thing, is there was plot threads and ideas that could have went somewhere. In particular, particular, this whole idea that they're creating these drone robots, these drone Jaegers that are being piloted not by pilots but by computers. And I was like, oh, this is going to be really cool. But it kind of just gets wrapped up halfway into the movie, and then we go back to kaijus versus the Jaegers. Another big issue is a lot of seen this before, been there, done that. I mean, if you saw the first film, if you saw the Transformers movies, if you saw the Godzilla film from a few years ago, nothing in this is new. It's all just feels like it's copying things that have been done better. That hurts the movie because it does have some nice little world building, and it has some nice locations, and it has some fun little moments, but, you know, nothing about it feels new or fresh. You feel like you're going through the motions instead of experiencing a film. I didn't really get into the story because there really isn't much of a story, and the characters are two-dimensional at best, and they really rely on the actors trying to give it their all. And once again, John Boyega does a decent job. What I really wanted was for this film to surprise me in a deeper way, to have a bigger moment emotionally, or some kind of action scene that was very cool and unique, or some kind of, I don't know, some kind of design that wasn't like the first film. But even the Jaegers and the kaiju and everything that happens in this, the costumes, all that was done in the original film, and it was done better. And so it's just kind of like, okay, why did you make this movie? It doesn't add anything to Pacific Rim. They even have the balls to have an ending that sets up a third film where it's like, oh yeah, get ready, we're about to come kick your butts, and you're supposed to be like, F yeah, let's do this. And I was like, oh, come on, really? You think I want that? I think you could make the argument that Pacific Rim would work better as a Saturday morning cartoon show instead of being a feature film series, but that's just me. I don't think it really works as a franchise. I don't really know what to say about this movie. It's so shallow, there's nothing to really go into. I don't care to explain the characters' names or their motivations. I don't care to tell you what happens. I don't care to explain anything. It's just goofy. Overall, though, to the film's credit, sometimes something stupid like this can be more entertaining than a film that takes itself really seriously and is pretentious. This film is not pretentious. I wanted more, but I also got just enough to be satisfied and felt like I didn't waste my $5 on that ticket, and I had an okay time, and I was kind of laughing at how stupid it was. You know, it was fun. It lacked gravitas. It did need that Idris Elba thing. It did need some kind of command in it. It did need some more things that made everything feel a little bit more whole and coherent. It just felt like it was slapped together and edited to death. And I really got to give this movie credit. The first half hour, 40 minutes did feel like it was going to go to some interesting places, and I like the dynamic between John Boyega and this girl, but they just don't really pay off once again. It doesn't really go anywhere. It just ends up with robot fights. So, having repeated myself a little bit here too much and not really have any analysis to add to this, I didn't find any interesting subtext. I didn't find anything going on here beyond the surface level. I gotta give Pacific Rim 2, or Uprising, a 5 out of 10. So it's just right in the middle. It's mediocre as a movie can be, but, you know, I think the first film was more disappointing because I expected more. Sometimes it's better to have lowered expectations and go into a movie and just enjoy it for what it is, and I think that's the best way to approach this movie. So watch it at home. Rent it or something. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and please rewind your VHS tapes before you bring them back to the store.